Hi guys, this is Srikanth Renla. In today's concept, we'll be discussing about are we cyber secure or not. So whether we people are cyber secure, whether we people are secure from the cyber attacks or not. So today we'll be discussing about this concept. First of all, when we are moving to the today's agenda, so today we will be discussing about what is cyber security and what is meant by sensitive information. So why is cyber security important for companies and different ways to getting hacked, and what are the security measures to avoid getting trapped into a cybercrime, and how to know your phone has been hacked, and what to do if your phone is hacked. So today we will be covering all these concepts. First, what is cyber security? So we are living in the digital era. So this has steadily changed way you buy things, the way you are paying the bills, so the way you are watching a movie. So whatever you wish for just click away, right? So all of this made possible because of the internet and electronic media. So due to this widespread use, there are innumerable incidents of security breach. So we are using the internet means there is a chance of incident of security breach, and there is a chance of security fraud, malicious attacks, etc. Right? So to keep the internet age well ordered and safe for users, the need for cyber security arises. It secure you from cyber criminals, fraudsters, hackers, and anybody who wants to harm you financially, mentally, right? To engage the data in theft online. So this is about cyber security. Cyber security is nothing but one kind of information security system to protect the sensitive information from any kind of cyber attacks. So that is cyber security. Yes. So we are talking about the sensitive information. What is meant by actually the sensitive information? What is meant by sensitive information? So here we can say that sensitive information can be three types of information: personal information, business information, classified information. Yes, when we are talking about the personal information, this is also called as personally identifiable information, PII. Personal information is any data that can be linked to a specific individual person and use it to facilitate identity theft. For example, let's say knowing person's social security number and mother's maiden name makes it easier to apply a credit card in their name, and knowing the person's passport and visa number makes it easier to create a false document also. And most people have personal information distributed across, so like a variety of organizations and industries, right? Yes. Protected health information such as medical records, laboratory tests, and insurance information, and educational information such as enrollment records like transcripts, and financial information such as credit card numbers, banking information, and tax forms and credit reports, right? And when we're talking about the business information, sensitive business information is any data that would pose a risk to the company. Uh, we can say that if released to a competitor or the uh, general public. For example, information such as intellectual property. When you're talking about the business information, intellectual property, trade secrets, or plans of the organization, so this type of information can be harmful to the business if it is fell into a attacker's hands. Yes. When we are talking about the classified information, we can say that classified information is the data that has been intentionally kept secret at governmental level. It typically belongs to a certain type of sensitivity, like they intentionally they will keep it secret, like restricted, confidential, secret, or separate. They will classify the information, so that limits the people who have access to the information. So that is classified information. So these all three types of information, we can say that sensitive information. And next, So why is cybersecurity important for companies? Here my question is, why is cybersecurity important for companies? We can say, let's say an example, big organizations with many employees have a higher risk of getting attacked. So this is because of two reasons. We can say that one reason is the data, because the data is huge importance, and the data is playing a key role in the organization, right? So huge importance of this. And second, even a single employee does not follow the security protocol, that total entire organizations gets into a trouble. So because of these two reasons, cybersecurity is needed in the companies. Every companies need cyber security nowadays. Next. Yes. So when we're talking about the day-to-day life, different ways to getting hacked. So every person on the planet is using mobile, and every person on the planet using the mobile number, and every person on the planet is using mail ID. So almost 99% people are using the mail IDs, phone numbers, mobile devices. So, and every person is using the internet. It means there is a chance of attacks on the devices, chance of attacks on the particular persons, right? So different ways to getting hacked. So now we'll discuss, so what are the ways we have getting hacked. First, through text messages and phone calls, and through Bluetooth and through Wi-Fi. So while using email and passwords. So these are the different ways to attacks can happen to your device. First, so we'll discuss one by one. First, we'll start with the text messages. See, here you can see on the screen text messages. So every day, every person is getting these types of text messages, which is having short URLs. Let's say here, that attackers will offer the fake job offers and salary details, and they will give the short URL. When you click on that particular link, your device getting compromised. And and some attackers will offer the like advertisements like regarding the iPhone 50% off like this. And few attackers will send like photo messages and videos, and by using the short URLs. So when you click on this these types of links, definitely your device getting compromised. So every day we will be getting these types of messages. I mean, everyone is getting all these types of messages, right? And so this is one way of getting hacked. Next, phone calls. So when we are talking about phone calls, every day we'll be getting the phone calls, fake calls, right? So the guard against fake phone calls, in order to take the security measures in our against fake phone calls, you will need to take tougher approach. Like, don't respond to any call. Don't respond to the fake calls. Like, you are never obligated to answer any call, and hang up immediately. If you do pick up any realize if you do pick up and realize you might be talking to a scammer, and stop talking and end the call. And stay in control. It means let the call go to the voicemail, then copy the number from the caller ID and use reverse purchase to see if you might be able to find who is calling and where call may have originated. If it is legitimate, you can always call back. And fourth one is carefully answer the questions. Like, scammers can record your voice and use it to try to gain access to your financial accounts. If you reply yes to any questions, the audio clip the audio clip of your answer could be used to approve fraudulent credit applications. And next, use a call blocking apps. Ask your phone company about call blocking technology. They might be able to activate on your account. So these are the security measures you need to take when you're avoiding in order to avoid the fake phone calls. So these are the call blocking apps. Let's say an example: RoboKiller, here, Truecaller, Call Blocker, Call App, Nomorobo, and Call Control, Norton Mobile Security. So there are plenty of call blocker applications are available in iOS and App Store. So both for Android and iOS devices. First, when you're talking about the RoboKiller claims we need to pay for this app like $3 per month. Like RoboKiller claims to block unwanted calls or texts from more than 1.1 million spam numbers. You can also report spam numbers with the tap of a one button or set up an answer bot with the bot that speaks with telemarketers. These conversations are designed to waste telemarketers' time. Users can listen to these recordings and share with the friends. And there is, for every call blocking app, we have pros and cons. So the pros of the RoboKiller is this app uses voice detection technology to identify certain call patterns, like then automatically blocks unwanted calls and text. It can be entertaining to hear answer bots engage with telemarketers, and you can maintain your own whitelist and blacklist of your phone numbers. And when you're talking about the cons, you may not get caller information if you use the iOS version, and calls are routed through the RoboKiller, meaning it has access to the incoming calls. We need to give the access to the incoming calls. And RoboKiller claims none of your information is shared with the third party. Through every digital services is at risk of data leaks, you will have to pay for a subscription. And when we're talking about the HIA, it's a free with optional paid upgrades. This app consistently receives high ratings on both the Apple and Google Play stores. Users can blacklist numbers and block calls or text messages. Other features include reverse lookup service and alerts for unwanted incoming calls. And the pros is it analyzes more than 3 billion calls each month. There are no ads. You can use free version of the service. It offers a reverse lookup also. And the cons is your phone number is exposed since here will use it to analyze spam calls. Some features such as caller ID and auto blocking are only available with the premium version. So when we are talking about the Truecaller, so everyone knows about the Truecaller. It's a free with premium features and starting at $1 per month. Android users $2.99 for iPhone users. So Truecaller has more than 2 billion records of spam phone numbers, which helps it identify and block unwanted calls. Users can also add a blacklist to a Google Drive. So back up your history and contacts and make calls directly from the app. That is a Truecaller. And so we have pros and cons of the Truecaller also. Like the service accurately detects spam callers. You can use wide range of features, and the cons is the free version feature ads, and the Truecaller has access to your mobile number and call blocker. And we have similar way, we have call blocker, call app, and Nomorobo. And Nomorobo is nothing but, and call app we can use for only the Android users only, we can use that. And Nomorobo is free for landlines and $2 per month for mobile phones. And Nomorobo is one of just few services that blocks calls from both landlines and mobile phones. It is simple to sign up and start, but it is a bit limited. For example, you can't set up whitelist and blocklist in this application. And call controls and free for smartphones. And Norton Mobile Security. Norton Mobile Security is not only a call blocking app, it offers an entire suite of security features such as antivirus protection, anti-theft protection, a password manager, and app blockers. So if you are interested, I can suggest that the more security features having this Norton Mobile Security, this app can be a good choice. So we have plenty of call blocking apps. In order to avoid the fake calls, you can use the call blocking apps. And when coming to the pros of the Norton Mobile Security, this app is well designed. It offers a whole suite and security features, and there is 24/7 telephone support in this Norton Mobile Security. And when talking about the cons about the Norton Mobile Security, the subscription price is high. This app can take up a lot of bandwidth. Yes. So when we are talking about the Bluetooth, there is a chance of attacks on the Bluetooth also, right? So every day we will be using the Bluetooth whenever we are connecting to the TV, whenever we are talking, connecting to a car sound system. Also, we'll be connecting through a Bluetooth, right? So, and we'll be sharing the files with the Bluetooth also. Even there is a threats to the Bluetooth. The most common types of Bluetooth attacks is blue smacking, blue jacking, blue snooping, blue bugging. So what happens with the blue smacking? Blue smacking is a way to execute denial of service attack against a Bluetooth enabled device. So the target such as server and device gets away more data packets are the oversized data packet than it's designed to handle. The target gets overwhelmed, so it's shut down. So by using blue smacking attack, the attacker can gets overwhelmed and he can do the shutdown over mobile devices. And when we're talking about the blue jacking sounds like Bluetooth plus hijacking for a reason. So blue jacking is when a Bluetooth device hijacks another with spam advertising. Bluetooth usually has a broadcasting range for 10 meters to the 30 meters, right? So your blue jacking attacker would probably be in the same room as you, right? So he can leave the blue jacking device on the state of the target, your phone, while you passing that particular device. That this attack can happen. He can exchange the text messages, and he can take your contact details in blue jacking. When you're talking about the blue snarfing, it's same like a blue jacking, and it's same like various blue snapping attack can take data and data that is dangerous in the hands of cyber attacks, such as your text messages, emails, photos, and unique identifying information, and the phone or laptop users with your cellular provider, ISP. And the attacker could receive enough information about you by using this blue snuffing. And blue bugging. So blue bugging uses Bluetooth to establish a backdoor and victim's phone. So by using blue bugging attack, the attacker can enable a backdoor access to the victim's mobile or with laptop. So backdoors are very dangerous because they can give you malicious inside access to your devices and sensitive information. Basically, they can use the backdoor to spy on your activity. They may even be able to pretend be in the social media or your online banking also. So these are the types of attacks can happen through the Bluetooth. And in order to avoid Bluetooth attacks, we need to take some security tips, right? So avoid using Bluetooth to communicate sensitive information like passwords. So whenever you are communicating through the Bluetooth, you should not send password through the Bluetooth, and only leave your Bluetooth in discoverable mode. So when you are pairing a new device, so you need to keep your Bluetooth option in discoverable mode, and you should turn Bluetooth off when you are not using it. So entire day you should not keep your Bluetooth turn on. So whenever you are using, you can make it on, and whenever you are not using, you should turn off your Bluetooth. And Wi-Fi. How do Wi-Fi attacks work? And what are the security tips? Let's say, so at home, everyone is using Wi-Fi, and everyone is connected to their home Wi-Fi, right? So what attackers will do here, the attacker sets up a fake access point with a similar name. Suppose at my home, my Wi-Fi SSID is Shrikant. So what attackers will do, similarly, he will create a fake SSID with the different Wi-Fi, right? So he will keep it open, and whenever I'm coming to the home, sometimes I can connect to that fake Wi-Fi, right? So what if a attacker sets up a fake access point with similar name to that corporate access point near the company premises? When an employee unknowingly connects to this access point, thinking that to be in the genuine access point of the company, and the particular person gives away the authentication details of the original access point, the attackers is able to compromise the connection. So we can call it this type of attacker evil twin attack. So this is the way attacks can happen on the Wi-Fi, and we need to take some security tips on the Wi-Fi. Like Purview networks, you don't need from your preferred network list, and whenever you are using the Wi-Fi, use VPN to keep your local traffic encrypted. and disable auto connect when joining the networks. Let's say at home we have connected, right? We have connected to our Wi-Fi. So whenever we are visiting our home, every time automatically our Wi-Fi will connect to our devices. So I request everyone to disable auto connect when you're joining the networks, and never reuse passwords for Wi-Fi. And whatever the password you have previously used, never use reusable passwords for Wi-Fi, and never connect to the public Wi-Fi networks. You should not connect to the any public Wi-Fi networks, and never connect to any open Wi-Fi network. So if you are connecting to the open Wi-Fi network, means you are yourself, you are giving your mobile phone to the attackers. Next, email attacks and threats can enter into attacks can happen through the email also, right? Like, how do email attacks work? We can say that, so email attacks are generally they will attackers will, what they will do, they will gather your email IDs and they will send fake emails, like legitimate emails. Here you can see in the diagram, this is like a genuine email, but this mail is fake mail, and they will be keeping the URLs and fake URLs. So when you click on that link, so your device get compromised. So these types of emails or fake emails also will be attackers will send to your mail IDs. So be aware of these kind of mail IDs. So they will send the phishing links. If you click on that link and the malware get infected with your system. So this is about email, and email is also one of the attack surface where attacks can happen through the email. And ways to detect a phishing email. Yes, the message is sent from a public email domain. Sometimes what attackers will do, they will send a particular phishing email by using the Gmail account. So any of the public, I mean, any of the company won't send any mail through the Gmail, right? So they will use the public email information, the public domain information. So we need to don't read the mail. Instead of reading the mail, you can read the mail ID also, and the domain name is misspelled. Sometimes attackers will do the domain name is misspelled, and the email is poorly written. So when you compare to the genuine email, the email is poorly written. There will be some spelling mistakes will be there, and it includes the suspicious attachments or links. And the message creates a sense of urgency. Sometimes attackers will send, please click on that link within 5 minutes, like that. So they will give the time and they create a sense of urgency. So these are the ways to detect a phishing email. And passwords. So having poor passwords also is one of the chance of attacks on your mobile devices and laptops and your devices. So worst passwords in 2018 to 2020, you can see they are giving sequential passwords, and they are not using the what is that special numbers. They are not using the characters. Simply they are giving what is that sequential numbers. So this is the worst passwords in between 2018 to 2020. Source not pass and splash data. And follow these 7 strong passwords for best practices. So whenever you're setting up a password, don't use sequential numbers or letters like QWERTY, like 1 2 3 4 5, and don't use sequential numbers or letters. And do not include your birth year or birth month or day in your password. So whenever you're setting up a password, we'll be keeping our date of birth as a password. Sometimes we will be mentioning our date of birth year, and date also we will be using sometimes in our passwords, right? So we should not keep like that, and use a combination of at least 8 letters, numbers, and symbols. So whenever you're setting up a password, you must use 8 letters and numbers and symbols, special characters. So if you use combination of these both, your password will be strong. And combine different unrelated words in your password or passphrase. And don't use names or words found in the dictionary. So whatever the words are there in the dictionary, you should not use directly as a password. And use a password manager to store your passwords, and don't reuse your password. Suppose you have different accounts, suppose Facebook, LinkedIn, something, so Amazon, like this. So you should not keep your password for all the accounts. You should different password, you should keep it. Next, see, look at this diagram. So if you keep these passwords smelly, so that is poor password. If you use password your pet name like smelly cat, it's okay. And if you use the numbers, it's better. But whenever you are using special characters, number and special character, numbers and characters, the password will be excellent, and everyone should follow the strong password guidelines. And some information you should never include in your passwords, like attackers will gain the information of your pet name also, right? You should not give your pet name as a password, and your birthday or that family members, and any what related to your hobby or job of interest, and part of your home address including city, town, street, and your pin code number also, and your name or name of the family members. So you should not follow these steps, because attackers will gain all the information about you. So whenever he hacking into your devices and all, he will guessing the passwords by using these terms, like these ways, in these ways. So you should not keep password by using these steps. So how to keep your social media password protected and secure? So everyone will be using the social media accounts. So we need to aware of how to protect their accounts, right? How to protect our accounts. So the first one is, don't reuse password and change them frequently. So you should not use reusable passwords. Like suppose you have opened one account in Amazon, and the same password you should not keep for any other account. And we need to change them frequently, and use a password management tool to store and your passwords, and use two-factor authentications. In recent days, and every applications come up with a two-factor authentication. You just keep it turn on two-factor authentication, and don't log into your accounts or website with your Facebook or social network credentials. Suppose you have username and password. If you want to log into any website, you should not keep your social media and credential to the any other website. Yes, and pay attention to the friend requests, chat messages, and new followers and friends. So this is the how to keep your social media password protected and secure. And how to tell if your phone has been hacked. So we need to be aware of these things, like strange or inappropriate pop-ups. Suppose your mobile device has been hacked. Suppose let's say your laptop has been hacked. So you need to observe strange or inappropriate pop-ups, text or calls not made by you, right? And phone performing slowly, and your mobile will be getting slowly, and the data usage higher than the normal, and apps you don't recognize on your phone, so if you found these things, your mobile getting hacked, your phone has been getting hacked. And what to do if your phone is hacked? So delete suspicious apps, and change your passwords, and run anti-malware software, and tell your contacts to ignore suspicious messages. And the best one is reset your phone. If you reset your phone, entire malwares and whatever has installed in that, everything will be gone, right? Yes. And the conclusion, when you're talking about the conclusion, so cybersecurity is one of the most important aspects of the fast-paced growing digital world. So in everyday life, the cybersecurity is increasing, because threats are increasing more, right? So the need of cybersecurity is increasing, right? So the threats of it are hard to deny. So the threats of it are hard to deny. So it is crucial to learn how to defend from them and teach others how to do it. So cyber awareness, cyber security awareness is very important to everyone in order to avoid these cyber attacks. In order to save from the cyber attacks, cyber awareness is very important. And thank you, and secure your cyberspace and secure digital life. Thank you guys.